And a warm welcome to Athens for the 79th Tour of Italy. I'm Phil Liggett, as always, lovely to have you along. 1996, a special year on the Italian racing calendar as their great tour moves across to Greece for its start. And the reason? Well, the centenary of the modern Olympiad, first held in Athens in 1896. A country famed for its ancient buildings and the Acropolis, and now for the start of the Tour of Italy. And there are 162 riders based on 18 teams. This first stage of 170 kilometres is a circuit based on Athens. No real challenge for the climbers today. Those, of course, will come later, where there are major mountains on 9 stages of this tour. In all, the race totalling 4,000 kilometres. There's the high altitude at the left of our picture, a mere 280 metres today for the field as they prepare to roll away. Everybody, in fact, talking about Abraham Olano after his second place in the Tour of Spain last year and, of course, his World Championship as the man to beat. There's one man who might contest it in the little blue cap there, Evgeny Berzin, who won this race in 1994 and will be a real favourite in the upcoming Tour de France as well. A breakaway forming today, and 3 riders of the same team have gone clear here. There are Aki men, Andrea Teteriuk of Kazakhstan, and the 2 Italians, Gianluca Guerini and Denis Zanetta. Taking advantage of a lot of crashes already in the race today, and it's a lead of 1 minute and 50 seconds over the complete field. Well, not quite, because here is a crash here. We're showing it in slow motion. It's just happened, in fact. It's caused by a burst water main. You can see the wet roads, and the riders try to get away. The rider lying down on the right is Marcel Wust in the red. And what bad luck this rider has. It looks to me as though Marcel is out of the race. He also abandoned the tour after a crash in the first tour he rode back in 1992. And was the double stage winner in the Tour du Pont a couple of weeks ago and was bang on form. That really is bad luck for the young man there from the MX Honda team, the German rider, always a jolly rider as well. And this breakaway here, they want to know a little bit more about what's going on, but the field are closing in. The rider shouting at us here is Denis Zanetta. And this is a trip to the back of the field here, because the rider taking a bit of service here, Massimo Strazza. Also a crash victim, and he's hardly back with the race. There's another one. Well, they're saying a number of the accidents are caused by the bad roads, but you have to say, looking at this picture here, these roads don't look too bad at all. A touch of wheels, a moment's inattention, first day nerves perhaps, but again, more riders are on the ground, and it looks as though more riders out of the race. Already, 3 riders have officially abandoned because of the crashes. Now it looks as though Secchiari is another man, and that's going to make it 4 riders out of the tour on the very first stage here in Greece. The field have all been swept up. It's going to be a sprinter's chance again, and this is Uchikov. He was in fact just ahead of the field, but they're being brought to heel right on the line, and Uchikov, a former stage winner in the Tour of France, is caught, and now the sprinters are going to go. The sprinters opening up for the line now. The Gavi's rider is Stefano Zanini, but he's been swept aside now as Roslotto starts on the far right. But look at Martinello. Martinello, without his big sprinter Cipollini, is going to have a go on the left of the picture. Martinello, the double world champion on the track in Colombia a year ago, he's going to get his victory in the Tour of Italy, and that means he will also be the first wearer of the Maglia Rosa, and that is what every rider wants, and this is how he did it. I must say, a tremendous show of power here from Martinello. He must have been given a bit of a clean hand from his team leader today, Cipollini, who wasn't in the result at all. Martinello winning over Fabrizio Guidi and Stefano Zanini, Zbigniew Spruck. So Martinello, the first leader of the Giro d'Italia. And thanks to the bonuses out on the course, Martinello is 4 seconds in front of Guidi, and Contrini is in 3rd place. Now we're moving on to stage 2. This is the beautiful fishing town here of Navpatkos, and this is the finishing town of stage number 2. The ride today, some 230 plus kilometres. The riders coming away from Elefsina, and there are 157 of them left, having lost a number of riders yesterday in all of those crashes. No challenger except the climb in the middle, which is over 2,400 feet, 880 metres. But the rides themselves not rising to the challenge at all today. The race has hardly turned a pedal in anger as we pick up the action now 5 kilometres from the finish. The Gavi's team here tried to set up the sprint for their man, Stefano Zanini, to see if he can take over the Maglia Rosa from from Silvio Martinello. And by the way, Martinello has said overnight that in fact Mario Cipollini, his team leader, gave him a free hand yesterday to win the stage because Cipollini was not feeling too good at all. Now look at the rush here now by virtually the whole of the Gay Viz team here to try and get Zanini into pink. And there's plenty of riders willing to bring other teams up. We can see down there the team of Amore e Vita. They've got a very good sprinter on that team, Glenn Magnusson. If you saw the Tour du Pont, you may remember he was riding exceptionally well there. First year pro, champion of Sweden. And now again Polti trying to lead out their sprinter, who is Giovanni Lombardi, who 4 years ago in the Olympic Games in Barcelona picked up the points title, but he's not going to get onto the back wheel. It doesn't look like the lead-out man here. And there's the blue jersey of Stefano Zanini, and Zanini has been beaten on the line, and the man who's got through there, let's look at it again, is Glenn Magnusson, who had a perfect lead-out right into the centre of our picture, and that is going to put him right on the wanted list for Sweden for the Olympic Games for sure. His first win as a pro. He's a great sprinter, and today was his day, right?
Yeah. Normally I'm quite good in sprint, so I feel I always feel when I come to the finish line I have a good chance, and I took the chance today.
Indeed he did. Everybody finishing the same time. Zanini second, and having to be content with the runner-up spots at the moment. Edo of Spain, the little sprinter there, he got third, and overall Martinello keeps the pink jersey. 4 seconds still his advantage over Zanini, 6 now over Magnusson. And all of the riders on top of the leaderboard, not surprisingly perhaps regarded as sprinters here, but today's a bit hilly. The last stage in Greece, 194 riders, the riders going from Masolonghi to Ioannina. And there have been a number of skirmishes today, but basically the hot weather has caused the majority of the riders to be brought back into the fold. There's Martinello in the pink jersey. Cipollini feeling a little bit better perhaps, now taking closer order near the front. The green jersey here led by the early King of the Mountains leader Fabio Fontinelli, and their confirmation of a break 2 minutes 7 seconds up. Here they are, Nicola Micheli in the front, and Daniel Contrini of the Brescia team, he's with him as well. Contrini, a new pro, and 25-year-old Micheli from Sella Italia. But the majority of the hills all coming in the last 60 kilometres, 38 miles of the race. So there's Angel Camargo, the Colombian on the Sella Italia team, trying to grab an express train because they're bringing back his leader on the day at least, and the field behind keeping very close order as well. It could well go down to a bunch sprint once again here if they can get over these hills. Martinello paying particular attention to the fact that on a day when he was expected to lose his overall lead, he might well hang on to it. But there we see coming back Contrini from Brescia, so he's back in the fold, and Michela isn't going to be far behind him. Here is Micheli, and there is the main field closing in very rapidly indeed. A brave attempt indeed, a lot of publicity, but that's about where it ends today for him. The field are now beginning to warm up for King of the Mountain points. Fontinelli in third place. Looks like an attack too going by the good old favourite from Italy, Claudio Chiappucci. He's always had a great love affair with the Tour of Italy, but he's still waiting for the big day to arrive. Perhaps having an early shot at leading the King of the Mountains here. Claudio Chiappucci, the steepest climb of the race so far on day 3 of the Tour. Remember, tonight it's off to the mainland of Italy, and then they say the racing will really commence. 4th in the Tour of Italy last year, but he is a regular in the top 6 these past years. Trying to find his rhythm a little bit, keeping the big chain wheel rolling on what is a very good main road climb. And maximum points going to go to Claudio Chiappucci here as he gets under the banner. He's being chased all the way to the line though by one more rider, can't quite get onto him. So I wonder if Claudio Chiappucci is going to be a big part of this year's race. Sergei Uzlamin, 111th overall. Now putting in a determined attack, but he's done it with 12 kilometres to go on a long straight road. It's not ideal conditions to go clear of the field, and there's a lot of riders in this race now feeling that it will go down to a bunch sprint. There's a small climb up to the finish of 1 kilometre, but it's not really a tough climb for these riders. And in fact, Uzlamin has been joined now by David Castorotto of Scrigno. So it's now down to the teams behind to start chasing. The gap is just 16 seconds, and it's not that far to go. And again, the Polti team tried to bring the race back. And as we switch now, Wiz 2. Remember that Stefano Zanini is still looking for the stage win, and time is running out if this man wants to be the overall leader of the Tour of Italy. There he is in the mauve jersey, and coming up to his shoulder now, the pink jersey of race leader Martinello. And Silvio Martinello, he really has sharpened his legs for this race. The kilometre up to the finish now. Little bit of a drag, but he hasn't done too much damage to the strong men now, as Polti again tried to get Lombardi to the front. Lombardi is tucked in about third place. He's now trying to come through, but also there is Stefano Zanini. Zanini's in a great position now. He's had a third and a second so far. Zanini on the left. Zanini comes through. It looks like he's got the victory now. He's being challenged by Lombardi to the line. It's a long, long way, slightly uphill here, and I think Zanini's going to lose it. He struggled to the line, and he's eased too soon. In fact, Giovanni Lombardi, watch this. Lombardi, it just seems though Zanini seized up as he approached the line, shoulder to shoulder, as Giovanni Lombardi takes him right on the line, gets the victory. Martinello gets third. This is going to be quite a shuffling of the overall classification, but the victory goes here to Giovanni Lombardi. The sprinters are really having their day so far for the first 3 days here in Greece, all going down to sprinters. After Martinello and Magnussen, we've now got Lombardi. And what about Zanini? 2 seconds and a third place to his credit now. So there's the result. Lombardi, the winner, almost 5 hours in the saddle today. In the end, a bunch sprint. Zanini gets second. As a result, Zanini, the new leader of the Giro d'Italia, same time as Martinello, though, split on points, as we move on now to stage number 4. And this 147 kilometres, the rest day has passed by, many of them travelling a 9-hour boat journey from Greece across to Italy. The riders, of course, coming by aeroplane straight after the previous stage. Now rolling out to do 4 laps of what was partially the World Championship circuit here in Ostuni back in 1976. And the Gawiz riders out for a day of protection, perhaps, because Stefano Zanini, after 2 second places and a third place, is the leader of the Tour on the same time as Silvio Martinello. And as expected, a lot of attacks have come to nothing today as the riders have ripped around this circuit into the last kilometre. Nobody has succeeded in going away. We have seen people like Berzin and Ugrumov attack, but they've all come back into the fold. And a late attack here now, and it looks as though it's coming from Mario Mazzoni of the Roslotto team, trying to finish off with a result for them, but they're going to leave it late, and they're winding up now. It looks to me as though Cipollini might be finding his legs too. He's got the wheel of his teammate Martinello in that mauve jersey. Cipollino, Martinello, the 2 Seiko riders are coming right up to the line together, and this time Cippo gets it. Mario Cipollini, that's his first stage win of this year's Tour, and in all his 13th stage win of the Giro d'Italia since he started riding it back in 1990. That's how he did it, and when he does come to the line first, he does make it look so easy. Cipollini beating Martinello, his teammate, Guidi taking third place, and overall now it is Silvio Martinello who reclaims the Maglia Rosa, and so be it, there's still not much time in it. And so this opening week still staying the domain of the sprinters, and the pink jersey going back, rather surprisingly perhaps, to Silvio Martinello. We're now heading out onto stage number 5, 193 kilometres. We continue through this beautiful country, which is steeped in Roman remains. Capocolana, as the riders now head away from Metaponto down to Cotoni, running down in effect the instep of the heel of Italy as the race continues its journey towards the southwest of the country. You can't get it much flatter than that, can you? And this man should enjoy his day. Gianni Bugno, the champion of Italy, yet to feature in this year's Giro d'Italia. I wonder how long he's going to stay quiet. The race itself throughout the day has been a quiet one, just on 5 hours of racing. The whole field now swinging in towards the finish, not surprisingly of course with the flat stage like it was, and again a chance now for Martinello to increase his overall lead. He's had a good day in the sprints out on the course. He's increased his overall lead slightly over Stefano Zanini, and now he's got a chance of victory here. He's number 3 in line, as once again Gawiz looking over there to see where Zanini is to try and help him out of it. But Giovanni Lombardi now licking his lips once more after a stage win. He's right there at the front as well. And this is going to be a battle royale, because there you have Lombardi on the left of our picture, and going for gold now as he's got Martinello on his wheel, and behind Martinello is the little Kelme rider, Angel Ido. Ido going off to the left. It looks as though Ido might land this one. The little Spanish sprinter hits the line. Ido gets it. And he finishes just in front of Massimo Strazza, but here's the hero of the day, riding behind. Look at that right arm just propped up on the handlebar. And this rider is Gianluca Bortolami, a suspected broken right elbow after a crash midway through the stage. What courage! He's continued to the finish, but he's out of the Tour. And for this man, the other end of the spectrum, the happiest day for Angel Ido. He gets the best ever stage victory of his career, and indeed his first for 2 years ahead of Strazza and Martinello. Overall, no change. Martinello now 16 seconds ahead of Stefano Zanini as we move on to stage number 6. And this one is 179 kilometres, the biggest climb so far, officially a mountain day. And look at this, the biggest climb at 1,426 metres, approximately midway through the race. That's all behind us now as we join the action here at Taverna, with just on 60 kilometres left to go to the finish. There's been plenty of attacking, but at the moment the race is more or less under control, with the rider in the pink jersey still Silvio Martinello. So despite the mountains, a man that doesn't like the mountains, a double world track champion, is still in with a shout today, retaining that pink leader's jersey. Paneria, with the full list of riders, all 9 of them, it looks as though they've got them at the front here, trying to reel in the breakaways. Zbigniew Spruk is the man at the head, setting the pace here. Little Belly also tucked in nicely. And now we're looking here at the breakaway, Denis Zanetti. The rider has not given up at trying to get away. He's really at his strongest on the climbs. And the Aki rider pushing on the pace here. The small climbs towards the finish, but they're absolutely ideal for springboards. And there is, by the way, a rather nasty little climb up to the finishing line itself. And a counter-attack here coming from Bo Larsen, and he's being followed too by Sergei Uchakov. And the third rider there looks like it's Gabriele Massaglia. The Italians always anxious to get into the thick of the action. There's the confirmation of the group of Bo Larsen. Another new professional from the strong Danish setup. Klaus Moller also rides here in the Giro d'Italia, part of the famous Danish World Championship amateur team of a couple of years ago. All finding the way through the pro ranks now. And slowly but surely the whole field is regrouped here. And still they're searching a way to crack this field. Another 3 riders trying to pull away. The little rider there, Fabrizio Bontempi in the blue jersey. No relation, by the way, to the now retired Guido Bontempi, as this little group also tries to pull away from the field. Bontempi is still itching to get his hands on the Maglia Rosa before time runs out for him. The rider tucked in at the back there is Roncasio Gonzalez, the Colombian climber. So he knows his course well, because this could suit him, but there are still plenty of counterattacks. They're all together. That, I think, it was Roberto Petito who's just gone clear. And another very strong attack. So Saiko launching a number of attacks here. It is Petito, but he's got a long climb up to the finish, but you've got to have a go. And Petito is going to have to really struggle now to keep his rhythm in and out of the saddle. There's no more relaxing all the way up to the finishing climb. 3 more riders trying to open a little bit of a gap at the back of the field, but they too looking over the shoulders and not too certain of what is going on. Petito worried. He knows the gap is virtually nil, but he can't catch sight of the peloton because they're around the bends on this twisting climb up to the finish. We can have a look though, and there's one rider coming at him. And the way he's dancing on those pedals, it's the little Frenchman Pascal Hervé from Festina who's trying to get across. And just look at the gap opening now. The pink jersey is cracked on the long climb. He has no liking for the mountains. And those few seconds lead overall are sailing in the wind now. And this man is flying in it, because Pascal Hervé is heading up towards the back wheel of Petito. Petito, don't look over his shoulder now, because Hervé, the rider who won a stage of the Tour du Pont at Beach Mountain, and that climb is a little bit steeper than this one, I think, in the United States. But Pascal Hervé having his best ever season. And so Hervé got the sights of Petito. He's still got the time. There's the kilometre banner to come. Now, if he times it to absolute perfection, he should catch up with the leader about 500 metres out, and then maybe to go by him straight away before Petito can get on his wheel. Huge crowd as we approach the line now, but time beginning to run out as well for Pascal Hervé as the counter moves coming from the field. There's not a lot of time gap spread right across the field now. We're only looking at something like 12 to 15 seconds from the main field up to Petito. So Hervé is living a very fragile lifestyle in between the two as he continues his rhythm up the climb. Kicks again. He must be very, very close now to Petito. He knows a pink jersey could wait for him at the top because he may not know it but could suspect it, that the overall leader of the Tour, Martinello, is now in big trouble. And he's got him. He's got him, and he's got him only a few hundred metres from the line. A big kick from Petito, and Petito may have the strength. Petito, no, he's gone. Petito made the big effort and realised that Pascal Hervé was not going to slow down. And Hervé now sprinting to a clear victory, and only the clock will decide whether he gets the Maglia Rosa. But there's no doubt about the stage victory and the continuing great season of Pascal Hervé, the man who finished second overall, a clear second overall behind Lance Armstrong in the Tour du Pont, continues his good form here in the Tour of Italy. Victory for the Frenchman, Pascal Hervé. The time will soon tell us whether or not he gets the overall leader's jersey. Here's the sprint now for third place, and it looks as though Casagrande gets it, so a little bit of appearance there by one of the pre-race favourites, Francesco Casagrande. He comes home in third place, and there is the pink jersey of Martinello losing time today. So Pascal Hervé on the podium. He's just been told as well, yes, he is the new leader by 6 seconds over Guidi in the Giro d'Italia, the first ever pink jersey for him, and third place overall Petito, who finished second on this stage. And the 31 years old Pascal Hervé of France is going to feel very fragile again today, because only 24 seconds cover the top 10 riders in the overall classification as we now head on stage 7 of 164 kilometres to the mountain top finish of Monte Sereno. High up in the Sila Mountains, it's a ski station. It climbs up to 1,546 metres, and as you can see, the weather conditions up there are a little bit grim. This man has been the hero of the day, Maurizio Di Pasquale. He's had a lead of 14 minutes, but now it looks as though the field is starting to wind him in. He's down to 7 minutes as we head up towards the final climb of the day. The peloton is more or less together. The Festina team have had a tough day, though. They've been trying desperately to control this race, and they've wasted a lot of energy. There's the leader, Pascal Hervé. Turned professional very late in his career, but he's making up for it now. He's having a marvellous season. Well, the course should suit him, but there are so many places for attacks to come from with so many small time gaps, even the climbers included, all around him. And a steady climb now. This is the finishing climb. It goes on and on quite literally. They've wiped out, in fact, Di Pasquale, caught 8 kilometres from the summit. And now it's a free-for-all here with a constant number of counter-attacks coming all of the time. Very prominent at the front too. The Polti riders are up here too. And this perhaps the most important attack of the Giro so far without the pink jersey, because they've got Tonkov, Ugrimov, Berzin, Rebellin are all up here. There's Ugrimov in the centre of our picture. He's sporting his new colours of Roslotto. Making his climb steady, but no sign at all of Hervé, so they've worked him over good and proper on the climb today. His teammates have also dropped away from the picture, and little David Rebellin here digging very, very deep indeed as he comes up towards the line. He started the sprint very quickly. Faustini has gone away, and also coming up at the back is Pavel Tonkov, the other Russian rider. So Tonkov in third place, and in fact getting second as Rebellin takes the stage. So David Rebellin, a new man on the block, gets the stage victory. And he was sixth, remember, in Liège-Bastogne-Liège this year. And judging by the enormous gaps, there's still no sign of Hervé. There's Berzin. He's also conceded time. He comes over the line. And there is the exhausted David Rebellin of Polti. Only 4.5 hours the stage today, but it's been a tough one, just over 100 miles. He's being congratulated because he is the new leader of the Giro d'Italia. And this is how the little climber did it. Those rather thin-looking legs finding a lot of power in the sprint at the top of Monte Sereno. And dropping away from the action slowly but surely, Faustini, and coming up on him, Pavel Tonkov, the Russian rider who once won a stage of the British milk race in pouring rain in the city of Nottingham. Rebellin gets the stage. And now how about this? Look at the time gap, 11 minutes and 4 seconds and counting. The champion of Italy, Gianni Bugno, certainly out of any high finish in this year's Giro d'Italia. Happy days, though, for David Rebellin. He becomes the new leader of the Giro. His overall lead will be 4 seconds over Pavel Tonkov, and Faustini will be third, 8 seconds back. Leonardo Pipoli, he's a good climber, up to fourth, and Ugramov now in the frame in fifth. And with no more mountains until tomorrow, the race now heading for Naples, one of Italy's most famous cities, in beautiful conditions, and it should be a day for the sprinters. This stage of 135 kilometres, we're now running up the coast of the Mediterranean as we head up to Naples via Pompey. There you are, look, it's all downhill today, just a small mountain at the start, and the riders have gone over that, and they're all very, very much together. New race leader, David Rebellin, stalking the field here, letting everybody know he's around. He comes up to the shoulder there of Claudio Chiappucci on the far side. The race favourite perhaps, Evgeny Berzin, along with Abraham Olano. But we move on to the action now, and a breakaway is formed, and in this breakaway is Claudio Chiappucci, the rider who has always dreamed one day of wearing the Maglia Rosa. Well, he might do something about it. He's in this breakaway with Marco Salagari, and the other rider is Andrea Noe, number 8. And the gap is growing overnight, 1 minute 11 seconds, the gap between Chiappucci and Rebellin, and look at that, 1 minute 20 seconds, so he's got the overall lead on the road, and that might keep him going. Just 13 kilometres left to go to the finish. I'm not surprised, in fact, that Chiappucci is driving the race, but coming up from the back here is Marco Milesi, and a little glance over the shoulder there by Noe. We'll see Milesi join them, but in fact the main field are closing in. There's the same Archie's luck, and they're very, very close together indeed. So I think dreams of pink are out, but there's still a chance of the stage win. There's now 4 riders up front. Milesi is tagged on to the back of them, so we've got Marco Salagari, Chiappucci, Andrea Noe and Marco Milesi. Massive crowds here as we race into Naples for the finish, but the field are not that far behind. In fact, you can see them, look, there they are. As the attacks, the last gasp attacks begin now, but I don't think there's any hope at all because the field are thundering down the street here towards the finish. This is going to be another day when the sprinters feel they've got to have it, and that's why the Amore Vita team are working so hard. They're trying to set up Glenn Magnusson, who won, remember, the second stage of this race when we were over in Greece at Nafakos. But the field gathering again at the front. They're virtually wiping out of the breakaway. In fact, they've wiped them out now because this is Seiko at the front. And they're looking to their 2 top sprinters. Martinello's in there in the mauve jersey, but also there, the tall man, the fastest self-proclaimed sprinter in the world. He's right on the inside of our picture, Mario Cipollini. He's looking for his second stage win. He says, I only come here to win stages. If I can't win them, there's no point in staying. Racing down the front here now in Naples. He's running in 3rd place at the moment. He's on the wheel of Silvio Martinello. Martinello, twice the wearer of the Maglia Rosa on separate occasions in this tour. Now racing for the time bonuses once more to the line. There's still a battle for seconds among the sprinters here now as they start to go. In fact, Angle has sat up and looked at his gears if he's got a problem and gone away from it. But Cipollini has no such problems. Martinello on the barriers, Cipollini on the left. Cipollini gets it. I think even our cameraman was fooled there because he closed the camera in on Martinello, but in fact it was the teammate of Martinello and the Saeco captain right on the right of our picture as we look down here, who wins the stage, Mario Cipollini. A lot of speed off Big Mario, gets him his second stage win of this year's Giro. And right behind him was Guidi, Lombardi. Martinello, I think, will be confirmed in 4th place. This rider, once he hits the front, there's no getting round him at all. He makes Lombardi look oh so slow, and for him, his second stage victory of the Giro d'Italia, and that is what he came here for and what he does best. But overall, there is no change at all. That's the stage result. Cipollini ahead of the sprinters today. Abdu Japarov getting there this time in 5th place, and Baffet in 6th. Overall, Rebellin keeps his 4 seconds lead over Tonkov and 8 seconds over Faustini. So it still remains very close to the top, and a few more hills today as we go on to stage number 9. Heading away from Naples now, we go north up the coast of the Mediterranean, then we turn inland, skirting Rome and heading to the finish here at Fiuggi, a total distance of 184 kilometres. A nervous day indeed for young David Rebellin. He looks a solid leader so far, and he's got some good riders on the Polti team, quite capable of riding strongly in the mountains with him. One climb in the middle for the King of the Mountains, the Giro, coming at just about 19 kilometres, and then it's all go for the finish. And the breakaway of the day, two young professional riders, Contrini and Traversoni, trying to soften up the rest of the field and grab a little bit of the limelight. A long breakaway for these riders, but the counter-attacks are coming now, not surprisingly from the Aki team, who are taking a lot of encouragement from the fine riding from Denis Sinetta. Konichev setting the pace, Mauro Bettin and Roberto Petito, the rider who finished second to Pascal Hervé on stage 6. He's sitting now at the back of the group. Maybe he'll get more luck this time, because here comes the main field. Still a little bit of hesitation here as they try to organise the counter-attack. The Paneria team looking particularly good, as they put 3 or 4 riders back at the front of this group. The whole field, having wiped out the rest of the breakaways, are all together down there now. And the motorcycles at the front waiting for the attack that might decide at the day's stage. They climb up now towards the finish at Fiuggi. And this looks like Enrico Zaina, who's starting to go clear of the field. A counter-attack coming from Paneria. Carriera without, of course, Marco Pantani, who incidentally did the opening titles to the international television coverage. He was actually singing at the top of every day's programme of this year's Tour of Italy, and I can tell you, we want to see him back racing, because he's not a very good singer. Well, this is still Zaina trying to get clear of the field, but they're really wrestling with the fact they're not going to let him go, and it looks as though there's a counter move here coming from Alexander Gonchenkov, the Russian rider. Well, he must know these roads quite well. He finished second in Tirreno Adriatico here this year. He's also had a stage victory in the Tour of Romandy, so Gonchenkov having a great season. He's a man that is promising much, and he's just starting to deliver this year now. And this is Belli coming across from the Paneria team. Now, if those 3 can get together, we have a real substance of a good breakaway. Oh, and look at this. Gonchenkov has just come across to Zaina, and he's got a flat back tyre. Well, that's bad news, not just for Gonchenkov, but I think also for Zaina, because the main field are around about 30 seconds behind. Here they are. Not quite as many as there were at the start of the climb, but even so, a very, very big pack indeed. David Rebellin is in this group, and will feel a little bit concerned about Zaina, who started the day just 29 seconds behind overall. He's got more than that back at the minute. So Zaina is the race leader on the road. The Festinas are also launching a counter-attack. This is Gunnar Lauke from Festina. And Gonchenkov had no option really, because the gap wasn't big enough. He surrendered to go back into the field, and that really is bad luck, leaving Zaina now with a very slim hope of surviving to the end. He usually manages a stage win in the Giro d'Italia at some point. He got one last year, Il Coccio. And he's still got 3 kilometres to hang out off the front of this group. I don't think there's any chance in taking over the pink, because the gap is coming down. And really the stage win is all he can hope for. The counter-attacks coming from the group once again. Surprisingly not from the Polti riders, and that must indicate that perhaps David Rebellin has had a tough day today controlling this race. And he's got to be worried about Zaina. Zaina now can think only of victory, and then the clock will tell us whether he's in the pink or not, and I doubt that. Camera waiting to see if anybody comes round this corner, so the gap must be pretty close down to being shut down altogether. And here is the second rider on the course, and this is Guidi, who's gone through for the Scrigno team. Then the main pack just behind, Fabrizio Guidi, who continues to progress in this year's Giro d'Italia and keeps a high overalls position. And look at the way they've closed in on everybody. And in fact, Zaina is just about going to hang on to the finish, but it's going to be touch and go. He'll get his stage win. He was 7th overall in last year's Giro, by the way. But now as he comes up to the line, a stage win will be his for sure, but I don't think there'll be a pink jersey. 29 seconds out. He gets a 12-second bonus for the victory, and the gap is closing all of the time behind. The pink jersey Rebellin now at the front of that group, trying to reduce the gap as much as possible. He won't get a bonus though, as he gets pushed away into the pack. Berzin trying to get in on the action. That little blue jersey there, and Guidi again chasing. And Zaina gets the stage victory, and a very good average speed for the day of nearly 42 kilometres an hour. Behind comes Guidi. He gets the second place, 4 seconds back officially. Zbigniew from Panaria, he takes the third place. And David Rebellin, he actually finishes with that pink jersey in fourth place. What would have happened, though, to Zaina if Gonchenkov had not punctured? He may well have got his hands on this jersey, which stays on the shoulders of David Rebellin. I'm not surprised he's smiling, the 24-year-old who turned pro at 20 years of age. He still leads by 4 seconds over Tonkov, 8 seconds Faustini. Zaina now up into fourth place. The riders now facing their 10th stage as we head out of Arezzo and head for Prato. And we're heading now into northern Italy, into Tuscany. The region famous for its famous son, Mario Cipollini, but he may not like the route today because it is a little bit hilly and it's going to be a tough one for the sprinters to control. Still in that pink jersey, David Rebellin, and each day he's finding his team is under pressure. There's the hills, one coming sort of midway through the stage, and a nasty little climb around Prato. We go through Prato, in fact, and then out onto a little hill the rider's referring to as the Wall, and then we go back down to the finish in Prato itself. Beautiful scenery here, plenty of rain in northern Italy, but the sun is out today and the grass very lush indeed. And it has been a good attacking day throughout the stage. This is the little leading group, led here by Marco della Vedova, who's trying to get a sortie underway, and a good lead at the moment over the field. This is where we are, at Vetta Le Crocchi, and 67 kilometres still remain. Also in this group we've got Dmitry Konishev. Steady climbing here being done, and the gap, well, it's going to be a little bit of a risk as to whether they will survive the whole escape. There's nobody that will affect the overall lead yet of David Rebellin, who's going to take his time in bringing back this group, I think. The Amore Vita rider there is Riccardo Focconi. It's only a small team, Amore Vita, but they do manage to get into the frame in every Tour of Italy with one rider or another. They've had a stage win, got them off to a good start with Glenn Magnusson, who had a long breakaway earlier on by Maurizio Di Pasquale. The gap is now 2 minutes and 45 seconds. The main field still taking things quite easy. They'll probably wait for the first passage through Prato before trying to pick up the leaders. Here comes Della Vedova. One or two of the other names in the breakaway. Watch out for Piccoli. The Casagrande, by the way, is not Francesco but Filippo, his younger brother. And Vedova even managing to find himself a little smile here as he makes his way up the climb. No thanks to the drink. Riders very rarely take the offer of drinks from the crowd because you never know, there's always the risk of picking up a little bit of contaminated water. They only like to take the drinks supplied directly to them from their directors sportifs. And the pink jersey, and not surprisingly all of the Polti team now trying to control the escapes. They're closing in at 45 kilometres to go. Here's the back view of the breakaway as they concentrate on the small Intergiro sprint for a handful of time bonuses. But the main field now heading towards the completion of the first visit to the finish town here at Prato in Tuscany, and then the riders will head out onto the big climb. And on this big climb, it is a little bit of a brute. I think we should see the counter-attacks. Now onto the climb itself, and the Aki riders getting themselves into the thick of the action again. They've had a good tour so far. Denis Zanet is the man who has been doing much of the work for them. The 25-year-old who turned pro only last year. And the gap tumbling down now. Abraham Olano, the world champion. We haven't seen too much of him yet, riding on the right of our picture in his world championship jersey, right on the wheel there of the leader of the tour. Now you get some idea of the gradients as they grind around this corner. It looks to me as though it's something like 25% on that bend. Panaria, thinking perhaps of Pavel Tonkov. They're setting the pace at the front. Good chance to test out the strong men in this year's Giro d'Italia as the big heads of state get themselves to the front. Panaria are riding very, very strongly as a team. There's the climb, sticking off to our right. Cignano, and this is the man who's now in the lead here, and this is Alexander Gonchenkov, who's got himself to the front, so they've wiped out the breakaway. And Gonchenkov, the rider who punctured yesterday when he had a real shot at the win with Zanina rather, and now in the lead. And little group starting to get clear. This race is split wide open, and heading the charge there, the world champion Abraham Olano. There he is down there, setting the pace. It looks as though we may well have the other Roslotto star right on his wheel, and that's Pyotr Ugramov. The pink jersey's done well to latch on the back. Olano, Ugramov, this is Pascal Hervé. So there's some good riders got themselves to the front today. A little bit of a sort out amongst the senior citizens, I think. Pascal Hervé, who briefly held the lead, and I thought he would have held the lead for quite a few days. He found the going just that little bit too tough. Number 14 is Stefano Faustini, the other star of the Aki team. He's tagged on to the back. He's on the wheel of Claudio Chiappucci. This is a nice little select group here, trying to grab a few seconds on the day. As it comes up towards the finish, though, one rider's slipped them, and he's from the group into the last kilometre. It looks as though it might be Massi of the Refin team. Rodolfo Massi, well, if he wins this, it'll be a surprise. He's been a pro for the best part of 10 years. He's just hanging off the front of what is a select breakaway group. Most of the favourites are in it. But Rodolfo Massi taking advantage perhaps of the infighting, coming up to the line now. He will get the stage win, almost certainly the finest win of his career, as the sprint starts behind now. But it looks as though Zaina's in on the sprint too. Gonchenkov, Farah's in, they're all here. Giorgio Furlan is getting himself up to the front. Alongside him too is Claudio Chiappucci and Casagrande. Very close indeed as Massi takes the victory a few seconds in front. I think Furlan got it. This is the overall situation after that sprint. Rebelan, Tonkov, Faustini, no change at all overall. Furlan did get the sprint and Casagrande got third. Chiappucci was fourth. No change though in the overall classification. And so the riders now are turning back towards the coast as we leave Prato and head out to Marina di Massa. And there is a day for the sprinters if I've ever seen one. There's just one small climb towards the end, and the pack, as always, coming down together, enjoying a very hot day here on the west coast of northern Italy. And after a long breakaway by Fabiano Fontanelli, the race has come all back together again. Fontanelli, by the way, the king of the mountain since this race started in Athens. His lead wiped out approaching the finish, and now we have just a bunch sprint. And now can Mario Cipollini take his third stage win of the Tour? He will think he can. He's tucked right in on the inside of the barriers here. And in fact, Cipollini now moving slightly off the barriers. Martinello is in 4th or 5th place trying to find his way through, but it's all too late. His team captain gets his third stage win of the Giro d'Italia. So Mario Cipollini, when he goes, he really does go. This is his third stage win of the Giro, and a clear win indeed. He comes right ahead here on the line of the little demon sprinter going through on the inside of the barriers there. Jamaluddin Abdu-Japarov, and Silvio Martinello just about hangs on there to third place. Denis Zanetta of Aki was the rider in the yellow who got wiped out and pushed back into 4th. But Mario Cipollini gets stage win number 3 ahead of Abdu-Japarov and Martinello. David Rebelan, well, an untroubled day once he brought back Fontanelli, and so he keeps the leader's pink jersey by that same 4 seconds over Tonkov, and once again, no change at all overall. So the sun continues, and without a view like this, well, it wouldn't be Italy, would it? As everybody enjoys the sea here and the warm sunshine and has fun, but the Tour of Italy and the professional bike riders, they have to continue their journey now, which is heading towards France. The riders taking them from Ula to Loano, 195 kilometres, right around the coast. Just one little climb soon after the start, and then a nice view of the sea all the way through to the finish. We're picking up the race here at 38 kilometres to go, and the breakaway, in fact, in progress, which started after only the 2nd kilometre today. Fabrizio Guidi started the break. He was joined by Fabiano Fontanelli, and we've got Denis Zanetta here, Gabriella Misaglia. That's the rider looking for some more action here and trying to draw the best out of them, because the breakaway has dropped Bruno Boscard in, and the other rider of the 5 here is David Casarotto. The gap at one stage when they went through Genoa was 11.5 minutes, so that gave them the leadership on the road, and indeed a number of the high placings in the overall classification. But it's come tumbling down a bit now, and in fact it's leaving a fairly pleasant day for the race leader because he seems to have the race under control. It's all a question of who will win the stage. Fontanelli, remember yesterday, had the misfortune to flat just before the finish when he would have won the stage. Today he has another shot at it now. The Saico boys and Skriniar working hard at the front of the group. But this will decide the day, and a breakaway which has lasted for much of the 195 kilometres. And Zanetta there, tightening up his toe straps, or probably bolting down his shoes these days as he rides second from the end, getting ready for the sprint. But also in this group, the man who started the whole breakaway, what a powerhouse, Fabrizio Guidi, who has been taking part in the sprints for most of this race, now had a go today at the long one. And the attacks now as they start to dice for the position at the front. Fontanelli in that green King of the Mountains jersey is watching everything. Misaglia is the rider at the back for Paneria. Zanetti is number 19. Casarotto is the Skriniar rider. And it looks as though Fontanelli's got himself in a nice position. Followed now by Casarotto, who gets a good look at from Fontanelli, who wants somebody to take up the counter-attack there by Guidi. And in fact, the whole field have closed right in behind them, so this really is a battle of nerves now. They've come right out of the blue at 500 metres to go, and they're going to have to hang on just to start the sprint. Fontanelli at the back there, also looking over his shoulder there is Massalia. And the Paneria boys are working very hard at the front of this group, but the main field are closing right in, and will they catch them right on the line here? Because it looks as though, indeed, that Casarotto is the rider who's setting the pace and is giving it all away by just keeping a top 5 finish for him. Fontanelli has waited as long as possible, and Fontanelli goes for the line now. He really gives it just about everything. Thinking of his flat tyre yesterday, perhaps Misaglia is the other rider right on his shoulder. Fontanelli gets it. He takes it on the line. Misaglia will be second. Guidi will be third. And that means Zanetto, just off our picture to the right in yellow, he gets that 4th place. But the King of the Mountains gets the stage victory here. What a great season Fontanelli is having. That will be his 7th win of the season. So Fontanelli finishing ahead of Massalia, Guidi, Zanetta, Casarotto. The main field coming in just 3 seconds behind the top 4 today. Overall, no change at all. And it's as you were right down into the top 8 positions. And on this stage, I think David Rebelan is going to be tested for the full. It is only the second mountaintop finish we've had so far of this year's tour. We're heading to Pratanovoso, and no, there's no snow there. That little bit of publicity is what you would see if you came here in the winter. It's a ski resort, and it comes at the end of 115 kilometres today, a climb of 1,615 metres, and there's plenty of hills on the way. And the race has begun to split up already. The first attacks coming from Zbigniew Spruk of Paneria at the back and Pascal Hervé of Festina. 38 seconds is the split on the first group, and 43 seconds back to the group containing David Rebelan. And already abandoned Fabiano Fontanelli, the rider who won yesterday. He climbed off on the very first mountain today, perhaps feeling his stage win was all he came here for. He's gone. And he now has those 7 wins under his belt, 25 wins in all in his career. A day for the climbers indeed, and a nervous day for the man in pink as he watches the other riders launch the initial attacks and tries not to panic in these opening stages. Pascal Hervé, the rider taking the drink. Any man who gains a few seconds over the field today. And what's going on here? Because that was a clear push off the road there. And I'm not too sure why on earth that happened, but that was Fausto Dotti who pushed off the road Filippo Simeoni, and for no apparent reason. Well, I'm sure there'll be a fine tonight for that, and a warning from the referees, because that, you know, is a disqualification if the referees take that sort of attitude. But I think it's come as a show of frustration, because as they start the final 12 kilometres climb to the finish, the race is virtually all back together again. There they are, top of our picture, the main field are right on them, and now the counter-attacks are beginning. That's Pavel Tonkov of Paneria, who launches a very quick assault, and number 66 here is Ivan Gotti, lying 8th overall. He's trying to latch on. Enrico Zain is the Carriera rider. We just need to get up alongside and catch on the second rider there, but it looks as though it might well be Piotr Ugramov, and it is. Ugramov, the rider who finished 2nd overall in 1993 and really did give Miguel Indurain a run for his money that year, and 3rd in the Tour last year. So Pavel Tonkov starting to stretch the field a little bit. The Paneria team still have a full complement of riders in this event too, showing a good all-round depth of strength. Rebellin, well, he's wise to make the counter move. He knows he's going to be attacked heavily on this climb. Now it's going to be left to him and him alone to bridge the gap. It looks as though Zaina is in a little bit of trouble here as well. He's starting to lose ground as the climb heads up towards the summit, and all of the pressure is being applied today by the Russian rider Pavel Tonkov. Tonkov has sat on the front here. Ugramov has glued limpet-like to his back wheel, and Zaina is losing ground to those who are coming up from behind. So this is a fine show of strength here by Pavel Tonkov. 27 years of age, been a pro since 1992, and last year he finished 6th overall in the Giro, so be it. 11.5 minutes behind the winner, and some 7 minutes behind, in fact, the rider behind him right now, Pyotr Ugramov. As they head up towards the final kilometre, no one has helped. In fact, Tonkov, here's a counter move coming from Olano, the world champion, and there is still no sign there of a counter move coming from David Rebellin. So Rebellin is really in trouble now, as Olano talked about as the pre-race favourite. Rebellin is about 4th down the line here, so he's keeping Olano in his sights. And in fact, he's now got up alongside Olano. Berzin is there as well. But this is the rider as we climb the 1 in 10 or 10% finishing mountain to Prato Novozo. Well, you know, the Paneria team have had a lot of faith in Pavel Tonkov as producing the goods when it matters in the mountains, and it looks as though now we see the reason as to why it's been the Paneria team chasing down breaks they've seen as important while not declaring their colours as to exactly who their leader has been. And now they've got to this second big mountain finish of the Giro. Quite clearly Tonkov has been their man. 4th in 1994, 5th in 1993 and 6th last year. So Tonkov is a rider for the GC and the Giro, there's no doubt about that. Is he getting enough time? And I would say he most certainly is now over Rebellin to take the overall lead of the Tour and pull on the pink jersey. He'll only be the second ever Russian to do that. The other one is Evgeny Berzin. This is Gotti setting the pace behind. He will have noted too that Berzin is not with him. Only a short stage today, but a very tough one, and quite clearly a very decisive one as Pavel Tonkov races up towards the line. Tonkov easily sprinting clear of Ugramov, and he's going to get the pink jersey as a reward. Tonkov gets the stage. Ugramov is over in second place. Now the time is counting. That's Buenahora at the front, 10th in last year's Tour de France, little Colombian climber. Well, he's not so little really, he's quite tall and lanky. As Olano is just behind him. Zaina has survived. He's going to get 3rd place. The clock counting him down to around about 20 seconds on the line. Zaina will take 3rd place. And Rebellin is finding the strength to grab 4th. It won't be enough because it's going to be around about 30 seconds the deficit. So the new leader of the Tour will be Pavel Tonkov. Rebellin gets 4th. 5th is Buenahora there, Colombian and Kelme. And 6th, Abraham Olano. And just look at the damage this final climb has done here. The Polti riders were less spent because they've kept Rebellin in the hunt without doubt. But here's one big loser here, Evgeny Berzin, almost a minute loss for him. So Tonkov, the stage winner by 2 seconds ahead of Zaina, Rebellin, Buenahora, Olano, Gotti. Overall though, look at the changes. Tonkov now leads Ugramov by 20 seconds, Zaina 3rd at 38, Rebellin drops to 4th at 41, and Berzin, he's now a minute and 31 seconds back as we move on to the 14th stage. And this 205 kilometres takes us now across the Col de Madalena into France, and we climb the giant Col d'Izoire before the finish in the old part of the city of Briançon. And the man who has survived the breakaway at the front, here he is, Heinz Imberden. He originally went on the move on the Col de Vars with Gotti, Belli, Massi and Nelson Rodriguez. He was dropped on the climb, he got back, and he's left them all now to be swept up by the chase group, not surprisingly led now by Paneria. And there is the pink jersey of the new leader, Pavel Tonkov, in 3rd position. Heinz Imberden, his lead coming down all of the time. It's just over 2 minutes now. Nelson Rodriguez on his way back, in fact, to the pink jersey bunch. The Paneria boys showing they're really feeling pretty strong. And this now on the climb of the Col d'Isoire here. This is Pascal Richard, who's trying a tentative escape. Richard rides for the MG team. He won a couple of stages in the Giro d'Italia last year. He's also a past king of the mountains in 1994, so he's got the qualifications. The Swiss rider rides on an Italian team, speaks Italian fluently, and that's the group behind at the moment that Richard is going away from and climbing steadily on the Col d'Isoire. He's picking up here. Heinz Imbuden, Nelson Rodriguez has gone back. A surprising rider, Richard. I remember him when he won the World Cyclo-Cross Championship back in 1988. The same day his new team of the time, Wyman, were having a press reception to announce their sponsorship. He was outside the window winning their first world title. It was an amazing day. That was in Switzerland, and now we have Pascal climbing very, very solidly today. A far cry from a couple of years ago when he was the king of the mountains. He spent a lot of time in the region here in very bad weather in the Tour of Italy. But through these pictures today, in perfect conditions in the Alps, in the French Alps at that. We're now watching the group behind, and Pavel Tonkov looking very, very solid indeed down there. On the back wheel of Pyotr Ugramov, and trying to pull clear a select group on the climb of the Isoire. By the way, a little footnote to the fight we saw. Fausto Dotti fined, by the way, not just 30 seconds in time penalties, but also $1,000 for that little punch he threw at Filippo Simeoni. Back to the race here. We've got sitting at the front now, the pink jersey. That's the place to be if you've got the strength. Further up the climb and gaining time, but not racing to the pink jersey yet, at least, Pascal Richard. Good crowds here on the Col d'Isoire, most of them French, of course, although we're not too far away from the Italian frontier. The Tour de France also racing in this region later this year, but it won't use the Col d'Isoire. It will use some of the climbs, though, the Tour of Italy are going over. Over the top of the Isoire, the road's barren, but the snow, even at this height, seemingly melted. 2,360 metres at the top of the climb. Pascal Richard is the first man over it. 182 kilometres covered. Now the descent down towards Briançon. A happy stage town, by the way, for Pascal, because he won a stage of the Tour de France there, his first ever stage victory in the Tour de France, down in Briançon in 1989. And Ugramov claims second place, Tonkov third, Zayn has gone over in the white jersey, he's fourth, and the world champion Abraham Olano has gone over the top in fifth place, and they're sharing a drink down there now. 41 seconds is the gap, so it's nothing too significant, and it's all downhill now to the finish. It's not all downhill to the actual line, though, because you climb up through the old town of Briançon, and then you cross the line, and hopefully, in the case of Richard, you stay away. This is Claudio Chiappucci, who's attacked on the descent. He always was a careless descender. When he had the yellow jersey in the Tour de France on the descent to the Tourmalet, as he started his final climb up to Luzard-Iden, that was the first time we ever remember, back in 1989, this great man, Claudio Chiappucci. He was caught by Greg LeMond at the start of the climb and then left for dead. But as we descend now down into Briançon, Pascal Richard should just about hang on to the few seconds advantage he's got over the field. It's not going to be a pink jersey for him, but it's certainly going to be a stage win. Well, the road's devoid of the public here, but they're all waiting for him as we climb up into the old town. And this is Chiappucci. He's still clear of the chase, taking the corner very wide indeed. But you have to take your hat off to Pascal Richard. He must be one of the shrewdest bike riders in the world. He always gets a win of every stage race. He watches for the right day, and today he's chosen certainly the perfect moment. Under the kilometre to go flag, he is clear. Chiappucci is chasing him, and then we have the group containing Olano, Tonkov, Hervé, Zaina and David Rebellin are also, he's also in that group. They're riding around about half a minute back. Chiappucci is only actually dangling just off the front of that group I've just mentioned. If he looks over his shoulder on these climbs, there's a real chance he would see them chasing him. As we watch Pascal Richard here, one of the noted retirements we've just heard about is Silvio Martinello. He has retired today, the sprinter. Perhaps he'll now prepare for the upcoming Olympic Games, where he's going in the points. Well, Claudio Chiappucci, he made all of his advantage on the descent. He looks to be struggling now on this nasty little drag up to the finish in the old town. Pascal Richard, I think he's got the buffer he requires over the speed humps there as he comes up towards the line, but he's got far enough now. The last time check we got was 40 seconds over Chiappucci and 50 seconds on the field. Taking no chances, he looks over his shoulder, but he won't see much in these narrow roads, and all the cars right behind him through the gate of the old town. And a big crowd watching the arrival of the Tour of Italy into France here, and they're seeing it being won, yes, by an Italian team rider, but very much a Swiss man. Twice the national champion, twice a stage winner previously a year ago in the Tour of Italy, now gets the win here. Pascal Richard is home. Claudio Chiappucci is suffering, but he's hanging on to second place here. It looks as though he might well get it, but only just because the field are right up behind him there. There they are. And Chiappucci into the old Citadel and now racing up towards the line. He's found his legs for a little bit of a sprint here, and he'll need to sprint because he is only 1 or 2 seconds ahead of that field just come around the corner there. The pink jersey of Tonkov is safe. Chiappucci is also safe. He gets second. Alana, the world champion, beats Hervé in the sprint. Ugramov, Zaina, Tonkov, Rebelin. That was the order over the line, and then we go back to the next group in. This looks like Bueno Hora brings over Berzin, who has conceded a few more seconds today. The first victory by MG in this year's Giro d'Italia, and the victory going by 43 seconds to Pascal Richard over Claudio Chiappucci. That was a nice ride, and it's good to see him back in the overall result, but not in the overall classification, because Tonkov keeps his 20 seconds lead. In fact, no change at all in the immediate placings overall. So today, Pavel Tonkov says goodbye to France with that 20-second overall lead advantage over Piotr Ugramov, and now we head back to Aosta. 224 kilometres. The rider's going home to Italy now for what is a very vicious end to this year's Giro d'Italia. Today the stage, as I say, 224 kilometres. We say goodbye to France over the Col de Montgenèvre. That's the way into Italy, and then down into the valleys. Pavel Tonkov now not too worried by an escape which has gone up the road containing 6 riders. They've got 48 seconds, but their lead is building, and in the escape is Gianni Bugno, the Italian champion. It's interesting to note at this stage too that Pavel Tonkov, his team, are the only team left in the Giro d'Italia this year with a full complement of 9 men. Here's the breakaway, and in the breakaway we've got Manuel Beltran, Sergei Uzlemin, Gianni Bugno, Francesco Casagrande, Carlo Finco and Alex Zivakov. And I can tell you too that 4 of the riders in this breakaway have never won a race as a professional, but this man has, Gianni Bugno. He has won plenty of big-time races, including the World Championship twice, the climb up to Alpe d'Huez twice, and indeed the Tour of Italy national title twice. Well, Gianni Bugno, I think, is going to want this one. He's coming lined up very well there. He's lying 4th in line at the moment. It's Casagrande who is leading out, looks over his shoulder. A very nervous approach to the line, this. Not surprisingly, because they've got a small gap over the field as the field is beginning to close down, but Finco now is looking for the whereabouts of his team leader. Bugno, seeing if he's on his wheel, and in fact Bugno, I'm sure, wants to win this stage. The reason being the press here in Italy have given him such a hard time in making him look like a very poor rider indeed, and I suppose to some degree, having been dropped on most of the climbs this time in the Tour of Italy, he hasn't been that good either. Anyway, he's out to make amends, or is he? Because Finco is giving him the perfect lead out. Bugno goes to the right of the picture. Casagrande takes him on as well, but Bugno is going to have to challenge hard here. He's kicking for the line, and Bugno is going clear with a very good sprint indeed here. Gianni Bugno pushing it all the way and gets his revenge. Bugno crosses the line ahead of Casagrande. 3rd place, I think, will go to Sergei Uzlemin of Russia, and not very far behind, but almost 3 minutes, the main pack coming in here. But Pavel Tonkov in the pink, he will stay that way. No change at all in the overall lead in the Tour of Italy.